back in the day, I used to post shirtless pics because I had like abs and stuff like that. So I was like ripped back then. Where is my care package XD?
Front camera.
Eh,
There we have it. For
Finally, dude. Oh shit.
finally, folks.
This is my main phone,
Uh-huh.
and this is actually my grandmother's phone, dude. Trust me. And I was almost about to wake them up. They sleep like real early, man.
Wow. Uh, so, a life tip: have a backup phone when you're trying to do Instagram Live. Have grandparents
Yeah,
around, or have mother, father around whose phone you can steal, or
yeah.
have siblings.
I'm stuck at my grandparents' house right now because I came here for like just a weekend,
Mhm.
just to meet them and help them out with some stuff, get things done. And I was like, okay, this is 2 days. I'll be back home, but okay, it's not the same.
Right. It is not the same, man. I can imagine, especially the internet speeds that you must be facing right now.
Eesh. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's for someone who uses like the 100 Mbps connection, whatever that is, it's kind of painful.
Right.
Ah,
Finally, we are online, and now we can talk
finally.
about a bunch of your fans are already in the comments. And for the rest of the folks, some of you might not be into design, or some of you may not be active on YouTube. You may want to check out Punit Chawla's YouTube channel. Um,
Yeah.
Tons of folks, you keep asking like, how do I learn this? How do I learn that? Go check out tutorials on Puneet's channel. Tons of content for you to years and years of content. And, that's the starting point actually, Puneet. I wanted to start with. Like, how
Yep.
long have you been doing your YouTube channel?
So, dude, I've been doing YouTube in general since I was a kid. I was really into like drama and I love like creating skits. So I kind of copied, do you remember Smosh? The early days of YouTube, if you remember, there was something called Smosh. And Smosh was all about these crazy guys who were like teens back then, and they were just creating random like content, which was just fun. And so a couple of friends and I we just used to create content. In 10th grade, I failed in my pre-board because I was creating tech videos with a couple of my friends, and we had like a little blog as well. So it was like full on full time stuff, which was just like we're just gonna do this. We don't care, and we were getting good traction. We were getting like 1,000 views on our blog a day, and we were like on the videos that we used to post on the blog, we used to get like a couple of thousand views through that. So that was like a big thing for us. But
Right.
then our parents screwed it up. They were like, "Yeah, boards kar lo pehle," and this that. So we kind of split up. The friendship also kind of split off after like 11, 12. So after that, I started doing motivational stuff on YouTube. Just picked up my phone and I was like, do this and you will get success in life and stuff like that. So one day I just auto animate came out onto Adobe XD. God
Right.
bless them. And it was kind of a big thing because micro interaction used to take a lot of time with
Right.
After Effects and with Principle and things like that. And for the first time, we had like a software which was free, which was lightweight, and we could run it on Windows as well as Mac. So that was a big thing, and we could do micro interactions. So I created my first video about a year back on Adobe XD, and the first video got about 1,500 views. The second video got about 4,000 views. So from there, I thought, this is something that I can do. This is something that I can turn into like a part of my career or part of my, like a little showcase of what I can do.
Right.
And also the main thing was to try to inspire as many people to do similar stuff.
Right.
and that was like the main motivation.
Right. And it has grown many folds now. Now you have like 20K subs. And, the similar question, like you asked me today when we were recording something. By the way, Puneet has launched his new podcast. You got to check it out. How do we find it?
Yeah, it's Design Uncut. I call it
Design
Design Uncut.
Uncut on all platforms. Can I find it like on Spotify and Apple?
You can find
Pod-
it on, I'm trying to get it out on Apple Podcasts as well. That might take a little while, but it's on Spotify, it's on Pocket Cast, it's on Google Podcast, hopefully, and all the other like kind of podcast streaming applications as well. So
Right. And what can we expect like when we, go onto your podcast? Like, what is it about?
my podcast is all about answering your guys' question. Like whatever questions the public wants me to answer, I answer through that podcast. Things like how do we get into the design industry without actually having a design degree, or how do we earn more income as a designer? What's a good way to earn passive income as a designer? Things like that. So I've already done two podcasts, so two episodes are already live. So if you guys want to go out and check that out, that'll be cool too.
So check out Puneet's podcast. He's recently launched it. So don't forget to send him feedback on Instagram. And on
Yeah.
Instagram, if you want Puneet's attention, this is the best time to follow him on DM and on Instagram. And whatever DMs you send him, he's most likely gonna check it out because he just joined Instagram. And why? Let's talk about that. Like what kept you from Instagram for so long?
Dude, back in the day, I used to post shirtless pics of when I was in like first year college on Instagram, and it that one photo of me shirtless, because I had like abs and stuff like that, so I was like ripped back then. I still am, but I don't show it. So and that kind of went viral in my college, and that kind of I didn't like that virality of that post. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna leave Instagram now. So for design, I never tried it out, dude. Like I never thought, this could be a platform to connect with people. Until I actually got a following on YouTube, I never thought of Instagram at all.
Mhm.
So
Which
of
is
recent,
it's a
only people, so many.
it's a strange thing you say, right? Like, what content creator does not like virality?
I like virality, but the thing is, the thing about virality, I feel is it's good when the intention behind it is good. So I never wanted the intention. For me, I never wanted intention to be okay. I want to create viral content.
Mhm.
My intention was, even if I help five designers get a better career or get their questions answered, I think that'll be like awesome.
Right,
But apparently ended up happening more than five, so it then became a thing.
right. And
Yeah.
Dead Heart, right? You're trying to ask some question. You may have to repeat it here, over here, unless you submit it on the questions
So
panel.
Dead Hard Right actually asked me a question on my Insta a while back. By the way, I answer everybody. Like I try to answer as many people as I can always. So he asked me a while back a question. I'm gonna recite it here for everyone. Um, okay, so he asked a bunch of questions, but I'm just gonna maybe put out the major ones I feel. Um, so he basically asks. So he's not really sure of whether he'll be able to turn design into a career, is what I get from his question. Um, and I think I am assuming that Dead Heart Right is in Dead Heart Right is in his initial stages of either he's shifting to UX or he's maybe in college or school, and I still have doubt of whether I'll be able to work in a company as a UX UI designer as a source for my main income. I'm not good in coding, and so I opted design for my career. Uh, Join the club. Because even I was really good at CSS and SAS and all that, just front end stuff. But then I realized, I don't know how to do JavaScript and I can't do all that. So I just shifted off to UX. But I think just answering his question, a lot of us are like afraid when we get into design. We're really afraid of where this is going, especially because UX and UI, nobody knows anything about it. Like there's no structure to it. There's no, you don't go to a college, get a UX UI course done, and you get a job and you're successful, like any other traditional course. Especially for people who are self-taught, man. Like it's very scary thinking, okay, I'm learning on my own. I have no degree or I have no certificate. What do I do now? You know. So
Right,
I think in general, people just have to be a little more confident about their design.
right,
If you guys are really into design, if you think it's your passion and you're good at it, and you think people have noticed that you're good at it, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you anything for
right.
sure.
And another thing that that brings up is around this feeling of that I when you're starting out as a designer and you don't have certification to prove anything, you feel like you're gonna carry that forward for a long, long time, right? And
Mm.
that's to be able to carry that uncertainty for your entire career can feel
Yeah.
overwhelming. But that's not how
Mm.
it plays out. You do your initial bit and you try to get the first internship, right? If you work well there, then you get another one, and if you work well there,
Mm.
then you eventually get a job, right? After you get your
Yeah.
first internships and jobs, now like no one is be asking question like, oh, can you even design or not? I mean, these
Mm.
companies were not fools to hire you, and
Yeah.
all the work you did there. So after a point, the
Mm.
trust carries forward, right? It becomes
Yeah.
much easier. It's only in the initial bits that you have to push for that. You have to produce a lot of work to get attention,
Yeah.
to get the details right, to sort of be able to stand out, to get a job, or to get
Yeah.
an internship and to get a foot in the door. Same thing works with freelancing. Like once you have a freelance portfolio of actual businesses that have hired you, in no
Yeah.
one gonna ask you the question, oh, can you even do you even have a degree? Right?
Mm.
That is not a question that comes up for sure. And
Mm.
if the person is unsure about, like, from commitment point of view, like not sure if we can commit to design, then you gotta
Yeah.
like make at least 3 case studies and make a portfolio. If you are
Mm.
not able to focus in next 3 to 6 months to make a portfolio, let's say you set out to do
Mm.
that and you're nothing, and that's what you're doing full time, then maybe you're not able to give enough input or have enough interest to pull off design, right? Because
Yeah.
that's bare minimum required to learn the skill set, to learn the basics, and pull off at least 3 case studies on your own.
Yeah.
I just need to know if degree in design is worth it. Depends
Oh,
on worth
what a
it for what.
perfect question.
Yeah, go ahead, Puneet,
What
take
a
that one.
perfect question. Because okay, so a degree in design worth it. Worth it. Okay, this is a tricky question because he's asked whether a degree in design is actually worth it. Um, so you probably let's just kind of calculate the amount of money you spend on a degree for design. 4 years. So he's stated that 4 years. If you go to a reputable college, like the best, let's just take the best, all these NIFT and whatever,
NID and IIT.
NID, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you go to one of these colleges, you're probably going to spend upwards of a lakh per semester, I am guessing, based on what private college tutoring is generally. So you're probably going to spend upwards of a lakh a semester, or a lakh a semester, and that is four into two, which is like eight sems, and 8 sems. That's around like 9 lakh plus, inclusive of taxes and GST. Um,
Swachh
so
Bharat
eight
says.
lakh rupees is, what I feel is, if you think it's worth it, if your family thinks it's worth it, if you have the money to spend on it and you don't really worry about it, then go for it. it's there's no harm. It's college. We all go to college for some or the other degree. Go for design. I mean, what better is to go for college if you want to go into design?
Hmm.
Uh, and I think if you're juggling in between whether I should do a design degree or not, is it worth it? Then I'd say no, because um, you rather spend that money on building a brand, building a portfolio, maybe open your own studio. I don't know. 8 lakh rupees is a lot
It's
of
tons of
money.
money.
You could,
Yeah.
yeah, you could probably start a startup with that. The kind of startups we have right now, which kind of closed down in a month after coronavirus, I think you can probably open a startup with 8 lakh rupees in your pocket.
Yeah, and somebody puts a very
That's
valid point, that isn't that's how much engineering cost. Sure, but you can't get hired in multiple engineering fields apart from computer
yeah,
science without a degree. Like, I'm not gonna ask you to build a rocket if you don't have a degree, right? That's not happening. But if you're writing code
yeah.
or if you're doing design,
Mhm.
that's not the same ROI, right? That's not the same barrier to entry. So look at it from that
Yeah,
perspective. There are only like each college has what 10, 25-ish seats per session, and let's say there are what 20-ish colleges. So we have about 400-ish seats, 500-ish seats a year. 500 designers a year,
yeah.
like we're not gonna sustain that, right? So uh, even if you do 10 times of that, 5,000 designers a year, that's not enough. That's not cutting it for the industry and the demand we have right now.
Priyanka Glasses.
Yeah,
I don't know.
because do you know her? Like,
No, no, no. I just saw her name here, so
right.
that's
Future of CSE. That's an interesting question. Which CSE though? Are you talking about? There's three for CSEs I know. Wouldn't it be
wouldn't it
hard?
be hard for someone without a degree in design to get a design job? No.
Portfolio. I want to make a meme out of this. Okay, portfolio, portfolio. Okay, because the moment I look at it, like literally, when I'm looking at designers hiring designers, I literally look at this, open the resume, see lines, blah 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 blah, college. I take a notice if they are from design college. Take a mental note that I have to ask them two extra questions about what they learned and what they did in the design college curriculum. Otherwise, there's not much difference. I directly go to the portfolio where you actually showcase your problem solving abilities. Right. You have interviewed designers, Punit. What do you think? Like, do you care about portfolio or college more?
So the thing about people who've done like a proper either a design course or they've gone to a design institute or college is that what we were discussing earlier today was uh, how similar people portfolios look when they go into like a design institute or a design college, because the same people are teaching the course. You're around the same people all the time. You as a student will get influenced anyways, and having the same people with the same mindset, the same project, the same they're working on the same thing at the same time. I think it's not a really good idea. So when you're going into a design course, do not think that you'll have any sort of advantage over the people who don't have one.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, people who don't have one are the ones who get the job, and you won't. And that can often be disheartening. So I think this mindset of if I do a college degree course for UX or UI, and or if I do this from this institute, I'll get the job. Then that mindset you need to kind of open it up and be free about it. Except that I think both are equally good as long as you said, your portfolio is good. It's all good, man.
Right. And somebody adds interesting things, right? Like, is Amazon or Google gonna prefer a designer with a degree? Um,
Yeah.
in when you're doing entry level job, when you if neither of let's put it this way, the moment you have portfolio for most companies and design team, that will take precedence of what labels you have. If neither of there are two candidates and neither of you have portfolio, for sure the candidate with degree may get a precedence. But if most likely neither of you will get considered without a portfolio as a designer. But if you do have portfolios, then your degree will not matter as much.
Yeah. And like also considering like how much influence there is of just your if you are able to influence people with your design, that's more than enough. As you said, that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. Like my YouTube has helped me get two jobs, trust me. Uh, because I've been jumping two jobs in between, and it's hard to get jobs if you're like jumping jobs. So for me, I never had the insecurity of, hey, I won't get a job if I jump this now because I was confident of myself because I had the designs out, I had my portfolio out, I had my articles on Medium out, whatever I was doing back then, I had all that out, and people would be able to see it. People would be able to see that I'm influencing other people based on my work.
Hmm.
And that kind of does, I think that kind of does change the equation a little bit when it comes to people who've just put out a portfolio, maybe on their website, or they have like a PDF created for someone, versus someone who actually puts it out and people are appreciating and giving attention to him.
Right. And same goes on Medium as well. Like, there are tons of designers who consistently write amazing case studies and work on Medium. There are people putting it out on Instagram. And a platform does not matter, but you really have to think about putting your work out there. And somebody very interesting tangent somebody brought in. What about IDF courses? I'll tell you what, the course material in most, doesn't matter IDF or any other organization, you can literally
Yeah,
find a course material entire list online and find all those topics by yourself, study tons by yourself. It's not for the course material that that you should go to these courses. What you may want to go for, the only value I see in these courses is that you get a person who may have design experience who can give you
yeah,
feedback and do that sort of mentoring. But in that case, you really, before you pay that money and commit that time, you really want to question the organization or the school as to what experience does that designer or your tutor come from, right? So if you've not been a designer yourself and never built or designed real life products yourself, it's very difficult to give that real life perspective that designers need to be able to function.
mhm, yeah, yeah. That's true, man. That's I think that gives us a lot of space to think. I think there was this really interesting question which I was looking at. By the way, whoever just writing here, Kev is writing. He's been following me, nice man. Like having a smaller community really helps you recognize a lot of people over time. Like I've been seeing a lot of people comment on my videos and stuff like that, and I remember their names, I remember their
Same,
faces.
right?
It's like a very interesting feeling. I really love that one about this. So I think somebody just posted a question was, um, hey man, I did some basic in design, typography, spacing, color. Now what can I do forward to practice design and not get lost in between? Please elaborate. Okay, so sounds like you've been more into the visual aspect of design when it
Graphic
comes
and
to,
visual, right?
yeah. I think it's great to be a UI designer, man. I'm always up for UI. And, like I tell people, don't ask me to put UX tutorials because I'm not the best guy to tell you about it. I've done my
I'll put UX
fair
tutorials.
share.
Redirect the questions to me. I'll make the UX tutorials.
Yeah, we'll make one together, man. UX, UI, like that.
Yeah, done.
So, like uh, I think the next step for you, man, would be to really now get into the understanding of design, which is just UX in general. Prateek, I think if you've learned all these through like free courses or whatever online, I think now moving forward, once you've gotten a basic knowledge of UI and visual design, I think now it's important to get into UX and then practicing your UI skills after you have the knowledge of UX, because your UI will start changing over time as you get to know more about how the user uses your product. So, for example, if you have a minimal application with less data, and then you realize for this product, this particular problem, the solution is to display more data in a compact manner. Then you'll probably change your application that way. So start practicing. I think the best thing I can tell anyone is to practice as much as possible when it comes to you beginning into UI, UX, whatever it might be. The more you practice, the better you'll get at it. Anyway, so next step for you, Prateek, should be to get knowledge of UX. There are a lot of free UX courses. I cover that a lot on my channel. I have this thing called Design Essentials where I showcase tools, courses, assets, resources, things like that. So you should go check that out.
We have a follow-up question from
And that is
Zubair.
how you do cross.
It might sound stupid, but how do you feel is it for someone to move into UI UX from being an illustrator? Do principles follow through, or would you just have to start learning from scratch?
Yeah, they do. I mean, if somebody says principles don't follow through from one aspect of design to another, they're lying. I mean, um, I think color theory remains the same. I feel typography remains the same. I feel uh, the golden ratio is ever present, both UI design as well as illustrations. I feel the only difference between illustrations and UI in general, I would say, is again the way users use it. So illustrations have a different purpose, and UI has a different purpose. And that is why I think where they differentiate. So, for example, um, take this example. You take a photo of a couple of hills in the distance, and you're an illustrator. You go ahead and illustrate that photo into a digital format, try to make it look realistic. Uh, Now, both are the same thing, the photo of the hills and illustration of the hills, but the message that you get from both the things is different. The people who are going to see a photo as compared to the people who are going to see an illustrator are also going to be different. So I think the principles are the same. The way those principles are applied are different. Is what the gist of that is.
Right.
My opinion again.
Right. Just to, I think I may differ there a little bit. I have a slightly different opinion there. Uh, in
Mm,
aspects of visuals, you have some shared principles for sure, right? How attention and eye
mm,
moves, how basic principles of visual design, which is grouping, similarities, distance. Those all things apply exactly the same. So the first, I completely am on the same page with you where you say that those exactly pass, transfer over. However, what you have to understand is illustration's medium of this, consumption is very different from UI consumption, right? And by nature, by definition, illustrations are not very interactive. They typically do not have a
mm,
feedback cycle. They just get read. This UI, right? If you write a comment there and you post, there's a feedback that it gives you that your post got posted, that your comment got posted, right? So it's a
mm,
dual channel. So you have to learn new language. You have to learn that from scratch. You have to learn about this medium, how this works. If you made a UI like an illustration, it may not come out that great, the same kind of thinking. But you will start to realize over time what are the visual design principles that are common and the same over time,
mm.
right? Just to nuance it, for example, if you're doing audio design, right, or if you were doing, let's say, voice application sort of thing,
Yeah.
there you will have UX, there you will have user interface as well, right? We're talking to Alexa, but it's no, I can't think of many things that carry over from visual design there. However, a lot of things
Mm,
carry from UX design over there, right? Or engineering
mm.
design from there, right?
That's an interesting take. Uh, now that you've said it, voice interfaces are
Yeah,
changing
I'm
the way
always looking for edge
we
cases,
interact with.
like which break my hypothesis, like a typical product manager. That's why I think I got into product management as well. Edge cases, edge
Mm.
cases, edge cases.
That's a very stereotypical product kind of answer, edge cases.
Hello, folks, product people here. And how much money can UX designer make?
Okay. Never ask a man
Hello,
to do
Manas,
so.
and
No.
hello from France, hello from India, and there's a lot of like bunch of hellos going around. Yeah, I think let's take that, and then we have two, three more questions, interesting questions. Yeah, how much money do we make?
Okay. One thing which is controversial. Where are people from China, dude?
Where are people from China?
I'm, yeah, aren't any of your Chinese followers gonna follow through?
I don't think Instagram and Facebook apps are allowed in China.
Oh fuck. That joke fell flat on its head, like
I'm
real
sorry.
fast, man.
I'm so sorry. I'm behaving like my Twitter followers. I apologize.
Uh, fuck. Okay. Okay, so do you want to answer that question or should I answer?
Go for
What's
it. Go for
gonna
it.
be?
I think I'll just lay down the basics. Okay. I don't think there's
Hmm.
if you want to see a salary scale, you can go to Glassdoor, etc., and figure out the latest number, right? It won't be like up to date with me. But generally speaking, the closer you are to metro cities, the higher pay scale there will be. The more closer you are to product companies versus services companies, again the higher the pay scale. The more senior you are, that also. So there are multiple factors, and the more niche and
Yeah.
specialized you are, the higher the pay scale again. So
Mhm.
in that sequence, like there are multiple factors that affect how much you make, money you make. But on average, tech salaries are of course like highest in the country, among the highest in the country, if not the highest. So of course, designers make reasonable amount of money. Will be my diplomatic product management answer.
I wanna add a little to that because uh, I get this question a lot is how do you value yourself as a designer? And like when it comes to salary, I think there is no freaking limit, man. If you can be a millionaire in a year if you wanted to, if you priced yourself right. And what I mean by that is when we are like freelancing, we learn this a lot is pricing projects or pricing, giving a price out to clients. We learn this a lot. So if you've ever freelanced, I think you guys will like know this by heart. But your initial value can define the value you have like 10 years from now. So the way you value yourself now can define what you will have as in a full-time job in a year or so. So I find a lot of people undercutting themselves by saying I'm new to this field or this is my first job, and I think that there's a big misunderstanding around that because you can be the freshest of freshers in the world, but you could have a portfolio which is like a diamond in the rough. And if you can do that before you begin your first job, you can probably even ask for double the amount of salary freshers ask for right now. And I think that is a very good question because it's not only for people who are already in this field and who want to get to know what how much other people are earning. I think it's really good for people who are just starting off and they want to know, okay, is this like a career path that we need
Hmm.
to follow because it has a lot of money. You could
Right.
probably sell golgappas on the street and be a millionaire
Right.
uh, if you're really amazing at it. Remember that guy who throws salt on like this onto meat? Yeah,
Right.
he got so much publicity out of just doing this. And his restaurant in Dubai, he's a millionaire. He wears a Rolex. He does this on his food. That is his job, and he's become a millionaire. So it goes to show, man, you can be in any field and you can be like a multi-millionaire or richer than everyone else. But I think that question just gets cancelled off because um, you just focus on your design, you just forget about the money. The money will come.
For sure. I think that love that perspective. Uh, Makes it no such sense, and I really agree with the undervaluing part
Mhm.
because I know. I have undersold myself for the longest time in my career, in both in terms of the kind of responsibilities, the kind of money I could make, or the kind of the stake I could get. Or I've seen so many friends do the same kind of mistake as well, because
Mm.
again, the same thinking. I'm new to this. I don't have experience. Not realizing that uh, after you have a certain level of work, especially, and this is especially true for designers and self-taught designers, that imposter syndrome kicks in, and all of those things kick in, and you start undervaluing yourself. So don't make that mistake. Uh, do tons of interviews, like that will teach you, how to value yourself. When you sell the same thing over and over again to different people, which is your work, you start to realize that maybe you are far more valuable than you actually realized. And learn what impact your design has on business. People who understand the business impact of design tend to do better with interviews, tend to do better with any sort of negotiations, because they know what it can do for the business, right? Like legit, I've seen
I'm not
people like,
laughing at
yeah,
I'm not laughing at what you're saying, dude, but I just have to stop you there because somebody just posted something on the
what is it?
live stream. They're like, why many designers hate Adobe XD?
Oh, do you want a rant here? Because that's how you get a rant here. Because that's exactly how
Okay,
you get a rant.
don't start with me on Adobe XD. Uh, okay, I don't think designers hate XD. Why?
I think designers who work in teams hate XD.
For sure, man. I tried their co-editing beta, and it was. I have no words for it. Except that I think XD is great for people who individuals because I feel it's one of the
But Figma is
fastest.
free.
Hey, XD is also free, huh? XD is also free. We
But when
can
you
go.
finally join a team, you better know something they know they're gonna use.
Yeah, of course, Matt. See, it's cloud based. You can just share it over the cloud, and you have like an entire system ready to go. But okay, so the thing is, I was a little heartbroken this year because, and XD broke my heart this year because they sent out this care package to me last year, just thanking me for my videos, this, that, and I was really honored for that. I felt really good. This year, they sent everybody. They sent. Okay, I'm not sure if he's online right now, but they sent Design Pilot. If you guys, I'm sure you guys know Design Pilot.
Of course,
Um,
everyone knows design pilot.
yeah, oh yes. Um, they sent him a care package for New Year's, saying Happy New Year, thank you for being there with us in 2019. They sent a bunch of other designers who weren't content creators as such. They might just be designers, which is great. I think they did a good job with that. Where is my care package XD? You know, and
So if any of
that
you
kind
know
of
folks at XD, to take this complaint, and to escalate it, that they cannot let people of influence. Cannot let YouTube influencers off the hook like that. Come on.
where is my package XD? But it's all cool, you know. It's all cool. They helped me get my
All
channel up.
right.
They helped me get my channel up, man. They understood my grind and stuff like that. So I appreciate them for that.
But where is my package
Let's
XD?
yeah, where is my package XD? Uh,
Come on,
oh,
especially like as an Indian, right? Like, tell me if I'm wrong. Like, if other people get free stuff and you don't, and it just feels wrong, right? Like,
hey, Design Pilot got his package. You know, I'm a little jealous. This is the first time I'm being jealous of Design Pilot. Okay, cool guy and all, but
he got his
fuck
XD
you,
package.
Design. Fuck you, Design Pilot.
Hey, we should like do a YouTube live where you can say it to him live, and then we can take that video link, send it over to XD, and make them accept write an apology letter to Punit Chawla, official YouTube channel. All right, folks, we have
Is-
another interesting question coming up, which is how do you
Mhm.
collaborate?
Let me just get my charger because my laptop's just running out.
Cool.
Go ahead.
So, how do you collaborate? Um, and specifically, this question came around how do you collaborate as a UX designer, right? Is it just feedback, or do you have some more things to share and have influence over? A lot of ways UX can have influence, changing the sequence, information architecture, language, usage of words, layout on the screens, what kind of testing you're going to do, how you're going to test it,
Hmm.
how you're going to measure a UI, how do you design that funnel, and what kind of micro interactions may help certain kind of emotions or evoking certain kind of emotions. There's ton of ways to collaborate. Simplest thing I can think of is UX copy, and the most complex thing I can think of is influencing the visual information architecture using mental models, concept maps, and all of those things. That will be like third order, fourth order kind of influence you may have on UI. Yeah.
Are we talking about collaboration in an organization? Is that a question?
Yeah, like designers collaborating with other designers or with engineers. How does generally collaboration happens?
One just quick tip I'd like to give everyone is about for collaboration. I think you've gone over everything, but stop using 1,000 different tools for the same purpose. I've seen designers, like legit. If you can do the same task on one software or one product, don't uh, kind of split that up into like 10 different applications. That kind of pisses me off. Even in my organization, they have they use Maze for user testing, and then the user researchers kind of use some other software which is not Maze, and then we have to compile a document from Maze and then send it over to them, and then they kind of test, just do their analytics, and it's kind of crazy. So I think simplification of collaboration is like should be at the forefront because a lot of people make it complex, and there's no reason to make it complex. Even with visual design, I focus so much on visual design in my organization. Uh, and I love Figma, by the way, for that because the amount of collaboration you can do on Figma is crazy. And I
Right.
love the whole mouse thing and everything. So even with visual design, you have to simplify it as much as possible. Use traditional tools. Figma has like 1,000 plugins, and I'm sure there are some plugins for things for user research and for card sorting and things like that. So the fewer products you use to actually get your collaboration on is, I think, the best tip I could give anyone.
Right. It just reduces the friction, generally required. So the tool doesn't become, and I can imagine my team sending this video clip right back to me and saying, did you listen to this? Just by the way. And somebody's asking, like, what kind of do you need coding skills to require in your job role, Siddharth? For my job role, there are two job roles I do. So for designer, no, you don't need coding skills, coding knowledge. But as a product manager, it will help a lot. Uh, to be honest, depends on the kind of products you build. If you're building an API product and
Mm.
you don't know how coding works, you're gonna struggle a lot. But if you're generally building any sort of product, coding knowledge helps a ton.
I think every designer should know how to um, code. Uh, it's just a personal opinion, uh, because the amount of this empathy that you have with the developer is just next level when you're actually designing, when you're actually creating production level stuff, when it's not in the wireframing stage, when actually gonna hand it over to the developer to whatever tool you use, Zeppelin or whatever you use. I think understanding how the developer is going to develop that application or that website or whatever you're designing is going to be very crucial because first of all you can communicate better with the developer. You're going to understand what he's saying, because I've had this experience with product managers. I'm sure every designer has had this. if product managers using the wrong terms when they're speaking to designers.
Right.
I had one of my senior product manager guys. He was like, "Hey, dude, Punit, can we add this bunch of text to this cart?" And he said cart, CART. And I
Right.
work for Magic Bricks. We don't have a cart. So the entire day, I, s- I spent just thinking about what he meant. And the thing was, I think he was off that day or something, and I couldn't get to him. So for me to understand what cart he meant about, and realizing it wasn't cart, it was card, it was tough. And
Visual
the next day, I
card.
was like, card. And the next day was like, dude, we don't have a cart. And he's like, yeah, we don't have a card. We're not e-commerce. And I'm like, you said cart. He said, that box you put everything in. And see, I don't blame him, but you're a product manager, dude. Get your facts right.
If you were APM, it's fine. He was a senior product manager, may I remind you, as you mentioned. So should know that terminology even better. For sure.
Yeah.
We have our last 6 minutes of our live online, so we're gonna take off to whatever random topics that we feel like. And
Mm.
speaking of collaboration, uh, like tell me like some of your favorite collaborations, unexpected collaborations, like and in terms of what kind of teams were you able to collaborate? Like, is it with engineering you like collaborating? Is it with PMs? Is it with other designers? Like personally, whom do you enjoy collaborating with?
First of all, dude, Anil loves you a lot. So,
Uh,
uh, so, so the thing is, okay, so for me, I think the best kind of people I've collaborated with in my organizations, whatever companies I work with, has always been developers. Um, the reason being, they're like, uh, okay, don't worry, we'll get this done. Don't change it in the original design. We'll do it on our own. That understanding, that understanding that they have with the designers is lovely, man. It's
right.
like so heartwarming. It's like कर देंगे यार, जुगाड़ कर देंगे.
Yeah.
And that's the disadvantage of working with product managers and designers is that, hey, can you fix this in Zeppelin? And the kind of ridiculous small changes they ask for, it's mind-boggling because they just want you to change the color of something, or they want you to maybe change the width of say a floating. You put up a floating button and it's a sticky at the bottom, and you set it to, I don't know, you set it to a 32 pixel margin from both the edges, and you're like, you just perfectly made it, and somebody comes and tells you, um, you know, uh, the color is just not right. Can you change the color? And can you? And then I change the color, and they're like, no, this doesn't fit the brand well. And then I'm like, okay, I'll change the color again. This is my job. Okay, this is my life now. I'm changing colors for a floating button. And then I'm like, and then they're like, can you change it back to the original? I'm like, you could have told the developer to do this as well. I have other things to
Right. In fact, at times I
do.
feel like find all your colors, put them in this Excel sheet. I'm gonna run a Figma plugin that will show you all the variations of the buttons. Like, don't come to me to bother me about button color variations. Right. That is where I appreciate like things like Figma and plugins because I can just multiply.
Dude, this is going to be your most popular podcast ever. The relevancy is so high right now. It's crazy.
This is a tons of fun. And last 2 minutes, folks. We're gonna be live till 11. which is last 2 minutes left. So if you have any rapid fire questions, this is the time to put them in. Any specific question you want to take up, Punit, that we haven't spoken about so far?
Uh, I don't know, man. Only thing is we just thanks to your this thing. I just reached 300 followers. I was
Hey,
at
nice.
260, 260 something. So if you can, if you guys can be angels and go to my page and follow me there, that'll be awesome. But except that, dude, I think there's a lot for me to learn from you because
Same, same
we
mutual feeling.
might be we might be we might be good in our own fields, in our own platforms, but the amount we can learn from each other is gonna be like crazy.
For
Like
sure.
growing together is like I think the best thing. What are your further plans for your projects, Puneet?
Mayank is asking that.
If you're asking, for those guys who know Chris Do is gonna be on the channel very soon. Chris Do is gonna be on the channel very very soon. You just write it from me. This year, Chris Do is gonna be on my channel.
So we're
That's
gonna have
fine,
Chris
man.
Doe on Punit's YouTube channel and take the
Yeah,
crazy count 20K count to 40K or even beyond when that
yeah,
happens for sure. And go follow Puneet on his Instagram. Expect a lot of content from him. DM him what kind of content would you like to see, and do check
yeah,
out his podcast as well. Design
yeah.
Uncut once again on your favorite podcasting platform. You'll have to wait a couple of days, couple of weeks for Apple Podcasts, but everywhere else it's available. You should be able to check it out.
And if you aren't following King Siddharth, if you aren't following his podcast, if you aren't following his channel, he has everything on his Instagram page. Just fucking go follow him. It's free. You don't have to pay anything for it. It's free. Go follow him, support him there, man. Like it's all good, man. It's all growth and it's all good growth.
Thank you, folks, for joining, and thank you so much, Puneet, for that pitch in. I'm gonna use that for my next YouTube video at the end, and suddenly pop your face and go like, follow him, and make dubstep out of it. All right, folks.
Yeah,
Once,
dude.
thank you for joining in, and take care. Good night. We're gonna do another live soon. Let me know whom you want me to invite, and once again, go check out all the links we talk about. Hashtag engagement, hashtag go corona, and take care and good night.
Like people.